Jack Chick was a man of prayer. For 16 years, Jack and I would start the day by getting before the Lord in prayer. We'd start our work by praying to the Lord. And whenever we got bogged down, it was back to our knees. Chick Publications has been run by prayer for 56 years. And while so many other companies have compromised or become cultic or outright disappeared, Chick Publications is still here, hasn't changed, and it's still run by prayer. Somebody was doing something right. When Gary Metz wrote the articles in Cornerstone magazine about former Jesuit Alberto Rivera, he made fun of Jack by saying that he prayed about Alberto and the Lord told him to work with him. Cornerstone no longer exists, but you can find it on the Wayback Machine. I'll put the link in the description box. I'm amazed at Metz's lack of documentation. Metz wrote, "What does Jack Chick think about this? When he was finally reached by phone at his home, he said that he knows Alberto's story is true because he prayed about it." Never mind that quotes by reporters have often been less than completely accurate over the years. These are the words that millions of Christians saw paraded for decades. So we'll go with those. In the light of the hearsay presented in the articles against Jack, Alberto, and others, who could blame the doubters? Alberto said some pretty wild things in his stories. And as far back as the early 1980s, I went against Jack and Chick Tracts as a result of those stories, and especially the hit pieces against Jack. But what if we could verify in an official document that I found whether Alberto told the truth about one crucial story? I have that document right here. Would you like to see it? Hi, I'm David Daniels from Chick Publications. From the time that I came to work with Jack in August of 2000, people who have known Jack for decades have said the same thing. Jack is a man of prayer. He would come to them and say the Lord showed him something in prayer. And they'd wonder, where did that come from? Over time, they watched as the things Jack said happened or were proven true. And over the years, people began to have their own doubts replaced with, I guess Jack really does hear from God. Others simply made fun of him. So let me ask you, was Jack's trust in his prayers misplaced? It's 2016. Can we verify any of it? Here's just one example. On page 24 of the Alberto comic, Alberto claims to have wreaked havoc at the Bible college he attended. On page 24, Alberto says this: "When the school officials tried to get me sent out of the country, the Vatican, through the government of Spain, claimed I was an army deserter. I was removed before they could discover I was a Jesuit." I showed you in the last video that Alberto attended the Seminario Bíblico Latinoamericano in San Jose, Costa Rica. I showed you the official documents from Spain, the Spanish embassy, and the Canary Islands that said that Alberto had no public or private record against him. One was from the Ministry of Justice in Madrid, February 26, 1955. Alberto was neither a convicted offender nor a fugitive. He had no criminal record. One was from the Embassy of Spain in Costa Rica on March 1st, 1955, where David Howard, right here, the secretary of the Seminario Latinoamericano, promised to take care of Alberto. And one even came from the commander of the civil guard of the garrison in Puerto La Luz, Las Palmas, Canary Islands, Alberto's hometown, from Don Jose Gonzalez Herrera. He said that he had no public or private dings on his record. If he were a draft dodger or a deserter, this guy would have known it. It's dated March 14th, 1955. Now, Alberto's visa to leave Las Palmas was authorized for only 3 months, beginning February 26th, 1955. That means that if Alberto had to leave for Costa Rica, it was by or before May 26th, 1955. So all these documents are dated from late February to mid-March 1955. So by May 1955, Alberto was in San Jose, Costa Rica as a Bible college student. He had no criminal or any other kind of record against him. But even according to his old friend Plutarco Bonilla, who later became a leader in the United Bible Societies, Alberto made trouble while he was there. Just like Alberto said, if he got kicked out, then the head of the Bible college would rescind his support and say, I'm not going to support Alberto anymore. And Alberto would be sent back home to Canary Islands. Let's just say the Vatican did want Alberto to quickly get away from the Bible college, no questions asked. How would they do it? This document may have the answer. It's dated September 29th, 1956, only about a year and a half after Alberto got his visa. It's written in really high-sounding speech, but here's a summary. If I make a book out of this, I will put in the whole letter for you, okay? The Colonel Chairman of the Board of Classification and Review of Induction Station number 73 from Las Palmas, Canary Islands, sent a special letter to the Spanish ambassador from Costa Rica, who forwarded the message to Alberto at the Bible College. It basically said this, here, you are no longer labeled a deserter or a fugitive, prófugo. Now you are labeled useful for all service, útil para todo servicio. You can still be a part of the March 1956 recruitment if you rush home. So, since it's already 6 months later, in September, the ambassador says literally, quote, I hasten you to participate in order that it may be useful to carry out for your earliest possible induction in the previously referenced induction station, Caja de Recluta number 73. This is a Caja de Recluta. It's originally named for where they would choose 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 5 people to go into the service. So, and this is, see, it's like a place that sends its own induction letters. So, it's signed right here, Jose Maria Cabanillas, Ambassador of Spain. In other words, don't delay, Alberto. You're already 6 months late for your draft. Get out of Costa Rica. Go home to the Canary Islands now. I have gone over and over this document. Here's a translation. I did it really carefully. I've checked it with numerous translators and then gone it back over it again. It's just as official as the earlier one from the head of the seminary. The only problem is Alberto wasn't a draft dodger. He wasn't a deserter. But this letter did get Alberto out of that Bible seminary lickety-split. This letter was genuine, but it was clearly a ruse. Someone at the Spanish embassy or back home in Las Palmas or somewhere wanted Alberto out of that Bible seminary. Was it before they could discover Alberto was really a Jesuit on a Jesuitical mission? The power of the Spanish military backed Alberto's recall notice. This says he was drafted. But guess what? There is no documentation that Alberto ever went back to the Canary Islands at this point. Alberto should have raced home, but he didn't. Do you know why? Alberto knew the letter was a ruse to give him out of the Seminario Bíblico Latinoamericano. And guess what? I have documentation of where Alberto did go, and it wasn't back home. In fact, Alberto didn't even leave Costa Rica, but I'll tell you about that another time. The bottom line is this. I have been able to document not only Alberto's statements about Rome and the Jesuits, but also his own testimony. To this date, his testimony has stood up to documented facts. I think Jack did hear from God. I think God did delay the Whore of Babylon's agenda because Jack published Alberto's testimony. But there's a lot more to Jack than just exposing Rome. I'll tell you more about that side of Jack in the next video. God bless you and have a wonderful day.